butt kicking of epic proportions last night. And if you were wondering, it was at 5,280 feet.
Yeah, no, 52-80 came up. That was the score at one point in the game.
And it read right across their jerseys. That was whoever did that, they are a genius because they waited for that blowout to get to the point where it was 52-80, and they took a picture of their television in the scorebook and said, man, Nuggets are really leaning into this 52-80 thing.
Unbelievable. Absolutely. The Timberwolves winning game one, close game, not a surprise. Like you expect this to be a pretty good series. If you lose at home, it's not uncommon for two really good teams because they all finish with essentially the same record to have an upset in game one. And when you get that upset, usually game two is the home team coming back and smacking the crap out of the visiting team.
Yeah,
that's very normal.
Especially when you have a candidate in a defensive player of the year candidate in Rudy Gobert, who was not in the lineup. He was not playing.
And you have the MVP.
Their depth in the front court was going to be questioned and tested, but it wasn't. At no point did the Denver Nuggets have a shot in hell to win that game last night.
No.
And from a team that is the reigning NBA champs with the presumptive MVP of the league this year, I don't know, in the presumptive MVP of the league being healthy, I don't know if we've seen a team get their lunch handed to them in back-to-back games like that before.
No.
Without the defensive player of the year, who is going to be getting the yeoman's work on a guy like Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, that Nuggets team got humbled last night. And that is not a will of a champion type thing. They got embarrassed. And you can say, oh, it's only one game. You're down 0-2. Like 5 teams in NBA history have come back from being down 0-2 when you have home court advantage. 5.
Which do you know which ones they are? Because that's an interesting stat.
None of the teams are good. As far as the teams that they beat to come back. Like this Timberwolves team is by far the best team. Like I want to say it's the 2021 Clippers against the Mavs. They came back. 2015 it was Rockets and somebody. You go back to like the late 90s. There's one in the 80s and there's one in the 60s.
Wow.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And when it does, a team that's better goes, oh crap, we better wake up. The other team was kind of a plucky upstart team, right? Like 2-3 years ago with the Mavs, you had a young Luka, right? Which you had a loaded Clippers team. It was like, calm down. We're going to go ahead and settle this. This Timberwolves team is terrifying. Charles Barkley saying last night that this is the best defensive effort he's ever seen was not exaggeration.
No.
They beat the hell out of them. They were on a string defensively that was absolutely incredible.
And I think a lot of people coming out of it are making a lot of the absurdity that happened in that game, right? Whether it was the Jamal Murray, and we'll dive into that, throwing a towel, that not being good enough, so then throwing a heat pack onto the court and damn near breaking the ankle of Reggie Jackson because Reggie Jackson stepped on that heat pack and then had to kick it to the side.
And he ends up leaving the game with an injury later. So
dangerous play and a stupid play by Jamal Murray to do that. And
Mike Malone's meltdown.
And they lost that game when Michael Malone went prison Mike, and he came out onto the court and he started getting in the face of Mark Davis in the first quarter of that game. That is when you knew everything, all the composure was gone from that Denver Nuggets team because they were frustrated with the style of play. There was a level of physicality that the officials were allowing to be played in that game. Denver looked uncomfortable by it. Jokic specifically looked all out of sorts. The fact that he only had 4 turnovers to his credit, that is some hometown scorekeeping if I've ever seen it.
Yeah. And there's so much to go into in this game. There's been a lot of, Jamal Murray's not doing what he's supposed to do. It's like, Jamal Murray's not doing what he's supposed to. He's coming off a calf injury. He's very clearly limited, but he also has been awful. Aaron Gordon, I don't care about his 20 points. He was a disaster last night. But Jokic, one of the things that Denver media and Denver fans have loved to parrot is he doesn't actually care about basketball. Look how low, how much it doesn't matter to him. Ha ha ha. And it's like, maybe we should actually wonder, does he care about basketball? Because he has just meandered through the playoffs so far. And he's still been great, but he hasn't been his typical greatness. And I know it's like, oh, it sounds so knee-jerk. He's like, he's an all-time great. I'm not taking that away from him. He's looked like crap. He's looked disengaged defensively. He's been hunted. There's just something doesn't look right.
And
maybe he's tired of his brothers getting in fights in the stands. I don't know.
We had talked about this against the Lakers, but the Lakers, their big adjustment was targeting Jokic on the defensive end of the floor. And he went from not being a good defender to this playoffs, he looks like a liability for long stretches on the defensive end of the floor.
And that was my question going into this series was, could they test Jamal Murray? I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's like, because if you make him work on both ends and then all of a sudden he can't be as productive on offense, that was going to be their undoing.
And he doesn't look right, but that is not the excuse that Denver can hang their hat on.
No, God, no.
Because
Jokic hasn't been engaged.
The length of Minnesota on the defensive end. Like, and yeah, Jokic not looking engaged is also, I think, a massive part is the way that Minnesota is playing.
Oh, he's taking them out of it.
Minnesota, this isn't like Jokic not showing up or not caring. This isn't just, Jamal Murray being injured. This is Minnesota coming out and breaking their will, because I think the most impressive part about that Minnesota victory last night was something that it was what Minnesota wasn't getting.